Hello, fellow humans. If you're someone who lives on the planet of the humans, you probably watched or rewatched the most recent Planet of the Apes trilogy in anticipation of the release of the sequel of the trilogy in the movie of the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. That's understandable. It's one of the best modern cinematic trilogies, and the sequel, directed by Wes Ball, is also very good. Let's hope he keeps the ball rolling and doesn't drop the ball for his live-action Zelda movie. This is a threat. There are a couple things I want to bring up in regards to the last movie of the trilogy, War for the Planet of the Apes, directed by Matt Reeves. Most notably, that ape might be the best character in anything.
Yo, is that the chip with the drip? It's the ape in the bag!
And secondly, are the horses in that movie okay?
I got the horses in the bag. Horse stock is a tag.
Now, I'm not a monkey master or anything, but based on how unwilling I would be to fight any of these guys, my guess is that they probably weigh more than me. Although I guess if that's how it worked, then most things would weigh more than me. But I'm no horse honcho either, so I don't know. Maybe they're fine and are completely capable of being ridden by great apes. Let's find out. I would totally fight a horse. Alright, so first off, it seems that although there's no hard max limit for how much a horse is able to carry, general consensus says that the horse's load shouldn't exceed 20% of its own body weight. That's a good starting point, so determining the okayness of the horse should be easy. We just figure out how much the apes weigh and then how much the horses weigh, and then we're done. Ah, damn it. Alright. The scale on the top is how much the apes weigh. The scale on the bottom is the weight of the horse that can comfortably carry the corresponding weight. So for example, a 1,000-pound horse can comfortably carry a 200-pound ape. Got it? If it doesn't make sense, pause the video, figure it out. You can do it. I believe in you. I will be focusing on the four main apes of War for the Planet of the Apes. That is Caesar and Rocket, both chimpanzees, Maurice the orangutan, and Luca the gorilla. Interestingly, the only ape I could find a canon weight for was Maurice. Karen Conoval, Maurice's motion capture actress, stated in a BBC interview, "One of the challenges I had on Rise was getting the weight right in my performance. I'm a 120-pound woman, and Maurice is a 250-pound orangutan male." One ape down. The other apes, we're gonna have to make some educated guesses. There are no weights listed for Caesar, Rocket, or Luca on the Planet of the Apes fandom wiki, despite it being the most reliable source of ape information on the internet. However, it does mention that in war, Rocket held Winter down despite the gorilla weighing more than him. For those who don't remember, Winter is the albino gorilla that feeds information about Caesar's colony to the humans. I was also able to find this on Caesar's page on the Heroes fandom wiki. Obviously the second most reliable source of ape information on the internet. He also unknowingly suffocated Winter to death, despite the albino gorilla weighing more than him. Okay, so how much does Winter weigh? No clue! No clue. Despite being used as a frame of reference multiple times, there is no mention of weight anywhere on Winter's Planet of the Apes wiki page, and of course, he has no heroes page because he is a traitor and a coward. I'm guessing what happened here is that the authors of these pages just assumed that Rocket and Caesar, being chimpanzees, would weigh less than a gorilla. But such erudite scholars of fandom wikis would never simply assume that which can be logically deduced. What do you know, Planet of the Apes wiki? Why are you hiding this information? Hashtag release the weight of the apes. What about Luca? Does the Planet of the Apes wiki have anything to say about Luca's weight? Luca was able to crush a human soldier to death with his sheer weight. How much weight does it take to crush a human? You know what? I'll figure this out another way. Alright, so the wikis were completely useless, and I've wasted a lot of your time. Unfortunately, this means we're going to have to turn to science. According to Britannica, chimpanzees weigh between 70 to 130 pounds, and gorillas weigh between 300 to 485 pounds. Cool. I could have just done that the whole time. But wait, that is still quite a large range of numbers, and determining the safety of horses is an exact science. So I'm going to make a lot of assumptions to get the exact weight of these boys. Let's start with the chimps again, Caesar and Rocket. The range from Botanica accounts for all chimpanzees, and males are larger and more robust. So I'm gonna place Caesar and Rocket in the upper half of the distribution. How you guys? How you doing? Get chummy there. Both of these guys were alphas at some point. Rocket was the alpha at the San Bruno primate shelter before Caesar gets there in the first movie. And then Caesar was the alpha for the rest of the trilogy. Being alpha probably means you're above average in size, so I'll push these guys towards the upper end even further, maybe even over a little bit. Finally, I think Rocket is supposed to have alopecia or something, so I'm gonna have to shave a few pounds off for you there, buddy. That was a poor choice of words. I should not have said shave. All right, so let's just put Caesar at like say 133 and then Rocket not too far behind at 128. That feels good. And then just as a reminder, we do know that Maurice weighs 250 pounds. The chimps are surprisingly light, weighing pretty close to like an average human, maybe even a little less. So I'm pretty comfortable saying that their horses are gonna be okay. Maurice is a little more interesting. 250-pound humans are not uncommon, so I just looked up 250-pound horse riding. And interestingly, there's actually a good amount of discussion around specifically this weight. There's a quote from someone with a PhD saying that a horse should never carry over 250 pounds, but a lot of other people say it depends. There's some anecdotes about horses refusing to let heavier people ride them. That 20% rule I use for this scale gets brought up a lot, but that seems up for debate as well. So inadvertently, we may have stumbled upon a horsey okay range. I'm gonna go with Maurice's horse is okay. He's pushing it a little, but it's conceivable. He's just pushing it a little. Which means that Luca might be a problem. Okay, so our starting range for gorillas is 300 to 485 pounds. And for similar reasons as Rocket and Caesar, everything points to Luca being towards the upper bound of that. But why are we assuming anything? You know? Why are we assuming? Some people might point out that this 300 to 485 range is for wild gorillas, and that captive gorillas tend to be larger because they get fat. And also that every ape born pre-James Franco, at least every ape that we see, is from captivity. With Luca being no exception, he's from the San Francisco Zoo. That was on the wiki. So Luca is probably larger even. But I would argue that it's been some years, and I think the lifestyle change has been wonderful for him. I mean, look at him. He looks so good. He looks so good. And I bet that Luca didn't get his position of power because of size or strength, but because of his intelligence and his kindness and soft soul. He's an ideas guy. And one of his ideas was to go on a diet. It's probably not even hard to crush a human body. Maybe the James Franco drug is like Ozempic, but only for gorillas. And he just had a really good poop. The one that like drops you a couple pounds and leaves you feeling empty and introspective for the rest of the day. He does that every time he gets on his horse. And we haven't even talked about the surely exquisite attributes of the horse yet. Let's take a good look at this guy, huh? Let's revisit the 20% rule, okay? The average riding horse is between 900 and 1200 pounds. Unfortunately, Luca's horse has to be over 1500 pounds. Fortunately, that's pretty standard for a draft horse, which is like those really big horses that are like roided out. Honestly, they're like the gorilla equivalent of horses. Nobody's saying anything about how draft horses are bred to pull, not to carry, and that the 20% rule doesn't really apply to them. Nobody said anything. All right, even if draft horses should only carry even less than 20% of their weight, my understanding is that there's a lot of factors that can influence how much a horse is willing to carry. I found an article from the University of Minnesota saying researchers from an unspecified university in Ohio found that horses with thicker cannon bones, that's the lower leg bone, and a shorter, stronger back can easily exceed 20% without too much fatigue. I'm sure Luca's horse has both. Also, the rider's experience plays a big role. An expert rider that has good posture and balance is much easier to carry than someone who doesn't. Luca is definitely an exceptional horse rider. And on the same note, a horse that is well fed, groomed, has their hooves taken care of, and is loved will return that love back to the rider in the form of putting up with more weight on their back. Guys, I think Luca might have been a horse girl. Also, his horse is like super buff or something, I don't know. So, given all of that, I think I can just go ahead and do this and everything looks good. So fret not, my hominin friends, for my conclusion is that our equine friends on the planet of the apes are doing just fine. Well cared for, well trained, and well loved. Perfectly capable of carrying every single ape that life throws their way. Oh God. Thanks for watching. That's the whole video. I want to do a quick shout out to an inverse article that I came across towards the end of my research by Caitlin Bush. It's basically just this video, except that they spoke to actual animal experts and Mark Bomback, the co-writer of War for the Planet of the Apes, instead of, just making shit up. If that interests you, I'll leave a link in the description. You can check it out. Thanks again for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, tell your horse you love them. You never know when an ape is just gonna absolutely obliterate their spine. # release the weight of the apes.